Morning, everyone. Rena here. It's a really nice morning in my hot water, and it's quiet. It's not always the case. You can hear maybe some dogs barking, but it's nice. You'll hear some birds maybe. There's lawnmowers that are happening too around here, which I'm realizing it happens a lot. And it's this constant practice for me, honestly, to just let it be, let it diffuse into my background noise, but it's nice when it's quiet. Maybe we just start with this. There's a power in just the simplicity of taking a few cycles of breath. It's always available. So we can start sitting up tall. Inhale. Exhale. Inhaling present. Exhale present. Continue a few more times. Let your breath rest into a normal, comfortable practice. See if you can notice any sounds around you. If your eyes are open, just noticing shadows and light around you. And if you were to come to the sense of sound and what you're perceiving, even with that concept in mind, what do you perceive as the light? What do you perceive as the shadows? So considering that it's potentially, white space around us, is it that space that you consider the light? Is it the sound of, I can hear a little squirrel munching on something? Is that the light? Or both? You can bring your palms to touch and rub them together gently. Stretch up my hands before I get to a computer screen, so this is a simple kind of butterfly practice. You just interlace the fingers together, you open them up to the sky, and then you lift the elbows, flip the palms facing down, press down. You can do this on the breath if you want to. There's a gentle space where the hands are softened, so it's not just a consistent stretching, so see if you can find that. And it's sort of a beautiful, creation of a wave. Speaking of the sound waves that we were just sort of tuning into just now. The hands especially taking a lot of tension, and if we are considering the sensory motor homunculus that's in the brain, that is in relationship to the places in our body that allow us the finest tuned motor skills and the highest levels of sensitivity. These especially being the fingers, the lips. So these areas, very sensitive and also in a lot of motion. The hands are really symbolic in yoga practices especially, but in general life, right? In many cultures, we greet, we namaste. We are using our hands in order to produce content or access information. We use our hands in order to feed ourselves. So whether it's with direct hands as in Indian culture, which is lovely for me to eat dosa or rice with hand, or if you're using a spoon, you're still using the hands. So our hands even communicate. They create gestures. We gesticulate with the hands. And so there's a lot to give gratitude to our hands for. The flowers behind me too, by the way, this is just side note, is I got them for my mom for Mother's Day, and it was so funny. I didn't realize that I must have an allergy to them, but I had them in the house, and I had like crazy allergies, and it was as simple as moving them outside that helped. But anyway, that I digress. But the hands being a beautiful and incredibly complex and all-encompassing place where we communicate, those of us that are um, given hands. And my cat actually is a polydactyl. You even see the beauty in the opposable thumb. He can open doors. So that too, symbolic as well. If you were to study some of the ancient symbolisms that exist in Eastern practices or in depictions, you would see that there are usually gestures, right? So there are variations in meaning, and we can study them, but they also are something that are intuitive as well. So if you're waking up with your hands and fists, for example, typically, right, we associate this with something that feels aggressive. There's a tension inside of us. So in the mornings, just opening and closing the hands. And similarly, when we are teaching our hands to do a lot of this, right, or it becomes a practice for our hands where they're becoming a bit claw-like. And in many of the mudras, what we find, or positions of the hands, is that there's a sense of openness, sometimes as simple as this, but there's often a connection point. So there's so many of them, and you'll see them across cultures, in fact. And so, what communication do you want to offer with your hands? What is important for you to not only demonstrate to others or offer, but it shows the internal state as well. So take your hands, if you like, you can rub them together. And you can take that, the open palms, and bring them over the eyes. You don't have to touch the eyes if you don't want to, but just letting yourself sense the heat. Are your hands tight? Can they be open, but can they be soft? You can bring the hands over the ears and over the throat. And again, are they open and are they soft? A nice balance. And then bring your hands down to the chest. Are you gripping? Are you tightening? Or can you let the hands be symbolic for the rest of the body? Open, strong, and confident, but also soft, flexible. Maybe there's an intention you'd like to set for the rest of your day. Thanking yourself for practicing, no matter what position, whether you practiced or not, or just watched. It's always nice to be here. Thank you. Have a good rest of your day, and I will see you soon.